Good morning to you. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. I'm Dennis Abubedulansa. Earlier, Samuel Kojo Brace brought you that conversation with Paul Grave and then brought you the news and the news review as well. It's now time to head to Parliament because in a little under 2 hours, the Chief Justice nominee, Her Ladyship Justice Torkornoo, is expected to appear before Parliament. She will be vetted, and it's just interesting how things have happened over the past few days. You may be aware that the former Chief Justice retired, and there is one who is acting in his stead. Let me just leave the details for legal affairs correspondent Joseph Akable to share with us. Hello, Joseph.
Hi, Dennis.
All right. So, Her Ladyship Justice Torkornoo will be vetted today by Parliament, and a lot of people are looking forward to it. But who is she? I mean, what does she bring to the table? I think that's the biggest focus point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, she's been a Supreme Court judge. I mean, sometime around 2019 when President Akufo-Addo appointed her. But before that, she was at the Court of Appeal, and before then also she was at the High Court. And so she has virtually spent a lot of years being a judge for that matter. And like you said, the Chief Justice exited just on May 24. That is a couple of days ago. And so currently, Ghana does not have a substantive Chief Justice. We only have an acting Chief Justice in Justice Jones Doche, who is the senior most Supreme Court judge. Interestingly, Justice Doche himself will be exiting in a couple of weeks' time in June. Oh. And so, he more or less, when the president made the appointment, he did indicate that this was to ensure that there isn't that gap. And so he wanted the vetting to be done expeditiously. So in terms of the requirements of the constitution that he has to meet, a person shall not be qualified for appointment as Chief Justice unless we know it refers to he or she is of high moral character and proven integrity and is not less than 15 years standing as a lawyer. And so those are basic requirements that she has obviously met over the period that she has been at the court. In terms of the gender mix at the court, currently there are 16 judges, including the retiring Chief Justice who has already retired. We have 4 females and 12 males. So it's quite a male-dominated court that we have currently. In terms of focusing on Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, she is 60 years. She was called to the bar in 1986. She was in private practice and joined the High Court as a judge in 2004. We know another person whose name had come up for this particular position was Justice Emmanuel Yoni-Kulendi, but now we know that he's no longer in the race anymore because that nomination has been done. And so Justice Yoni-Kulendi's name had come up, but he's no longer in contention. The president opted for Justice Gertrude Torkornoo.
So we'd have to move on quickly beyond the Yoni-Kulendi grace.
Yes, and so some of the cases that Justice Gertrude Torkornoo has handled, we know John Mahama versus Akufo-Addo and Electoral Commission. That was the election petition following the 2020 election. She was part of the 7-member panel that heard that petition and unanimously dismissed the case of John Dramani Mahama. She was also on the case of Michael Ankoma Nimfa versus James Gyakye Quayson and Attorney General. That case was actually concluded this week, and we know that the Supreme Court directed Parliament to expunge the name of James Gyakye Quayson from its records as a member of Parliament. And so the status of senior justice at the Supreme Court, with Justice Eni Nyebwa exiting, Justice Jones Doche becomes the senior most. He retires in June 2023. That's a couple of weeks to come. The next senior most judge is Justice Paul Bafo-Boni, who will be 67 in December and can only stay on for at least 3 more years. There's also Justice Gabriel Pamine, who will be 67 in December 2023 and can continue for some 3 more years. And so, I mean, many believe that she's a bit of a conservative, but others who know her quite well also disagree that she's quite modern in her approach in terms of the use of technology and digitalizing the courts as well. So, I mean, that is a brief on Justice Gertrude Torkornoo so far. And so today she'll be vetted by Parliament's Appointments
Committee. And so what you just saw was the initial conversation about who would likely become the next Chief Justice, and this was just around the time when the President made the decision to settle on Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, who is 60 years old. But Joseph, I mean, people must understand that these positions, right, they're time-bound, unlike the presidency where anybody can become president at any time, provided that they can prove that they can, manage affairs. But with the Chief Justice position, there are timelines to one's exit. So, I mean, Parliament's Appointment Committee will have to make a decision on her, but as we know is the case with usually these things, they're likely going to recommend her approval. How many years will she have? And for many people, and I have seen in other write-ups, is the concern about the limited number of years Chief Justices serve and whether there is enough time to make enough, transform or provide enough transformation in their leadership.
I mean, the thing about being a Justice of the Supreme Court and a Chief Justice for that matter is that you basically be there till you retire, unless, of course, there are some issues regarding maybe a petition that is sent for your removal and the processes go through and they find out that on grounds of stated misbehavior and incompetence you can be removed from office. But other than that, at age 60, she will be the Chief Justice till she turns 70. And if you recall, Justice Georgina Theodora Wood, she became Chief Justice in 2007. She was Chief Justice all the way so she was appointed by President Kufuor, President Mills came, President Mahama came, then also President Akufo-Addo, who now appointed Chief Justice Sophia Ekufu. So she has 10 years, all other things being equal, like the other factors that I've talked about. And so in good health, she would serve that period. And many even made the point that perhaps in making this particular appointment, that may have been a consideration that a president may have taken note of, because those he has appointed so far since taking over were more or less who were doing 2-3 years. I mean, if you pick Sophia Ekufu, she was just around about 2 into 3 years. Then same with Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, who did 3 years.
So this is almost like the Georgina Wood, where she would have a lot of time to serve as Chief Justice. I mean, that is all things being equal. So, I mean, you've been speaking to, or you've seen her working in the court. What is the kind of impression you get from people who've worked with her over the years? What is a testimony of her?
I mean, they describe her as a morally upright person, someone who is very intelligent and has very knowledgeable in terms of the law, which is her profession. On the bench, there are many times I've seen her in the Supreme Court. She's not the most vocal judge, but she is the one that if she has a question, when the lawyers are making submission and she has a question, she's going to come in and ask her question anyways. And the election petition, she was the one who made that comment about the fact that she used to eat kenke at Chatuchikate's home during the banter over the cross-examination of a sitting case. She had to come in and make that point at some point in time when issues were raised about the relationship between her and some of the other individuals in this particular matter, in this particular instance, Chatuchikate. So she's not the most vocal judge, but when she has questions while being on the bench, she comes in and she asks those questions. And so those who have worked with her, they believe that this is quite a good choice. They think that she's competent enough. And she'll be coming in at a time where, I mean, we can all agree or disagree on this point, but over the period, people have raised concerns about the impartiality of the judiciary, especially in the last couple of years, where it has come quite under a lot of criticism. So, I mean, it is a major thing that she would be embarking on. I remember former President John Dramani Mahama actually said that the next Chief Justice would have to embark on a mission to restore what he said was the battered image of the judiciary. I know there are many others who disagree with that assessment, but she will be the head of the judiciary responsible for justice administration, and definitely she must be concerned about dealing with some of these matters that have come up.
Another topical issue for her to deal with will have to be the issue of legal education, and we know how that has been a matter of concern, even beyond the profession itself, to the national level, where conversations have been had on on Super Morning Show, for example, about access to legal education, and we've heard former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu share her thoughts about it. I don't know about Eninia, but was he as vocal as Sophia? I'm not sure. I can't remember readily. But do we know what her ladyship thinks about legal education and access to it in the country? Is she on the side of opening it up, or she is with those who believe that we must be careful? This is a very critical part of our society which must be scrutinized to the letter as much as possible.
I mean, I think those are all matters that the appointments committee will obviously be taking her views on. But we know for a fact that currently there are about 2 different bills seeking to amend the Legal Professions Act, which the portions of it that deals with the training for lawyers. And so, obviously, definitely during her period in office, there will be some change in terms of that particular arrangement. Again, the Chief Justice Kwesi Niniebua was not the most vocal on legal education. We know that Chief Justice Sophia Kufu was quite upfront about the fact that she doesn't think that it should be a profession that
a wholesale
manufacturing or production of lawyers at that level. We also know that during Chief Justice Kwesi Niniebwa's tenure, President Akufo-Addo cut short for the Law Village. It's a major infrastructure project that is supposed to have been completed in record time that will address, because the main challenge really, it boils down to infrastructure. That is the main challenge that has created these bottlenecks that we are dealing with. That project has not progressed much. I mean, she has a lot of years ahead of her. Hopefully, government is able to complete that project, and with the Legal Professions Act that is in Parliament being passed, then there's the possibility of us seeing some changes, because already Chief Justice Kwesi Niniebwa's tenure has actually seen increase in the enrollment. That is, those who have been admitted to the Ghana School of Law, and even those who have been called to the bar. The numbers have gone up significantly if you compare to the other previous years.
Right, Joseph, we'll leave it here for now until about 10 a.m., just in about an hour's time, where Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Torkornoo is expected to appear before Parliament's appointment committee to be vetted for the position of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. You just heard my colleague, Legal Affairs Correspondent Joseph Akablay there, and we will be bringing you that vetting right here on this channel. You want to stay with us, but we'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, it's a weekend, and there's a lot to look forward to. I'll be telling you about Globe Productions' latest play, Life is a Dream. Do stay.